everybody, and welcome into the First and Football Podcast. Today is Friday, December 15th, 2023. Almost Christmas time. It's Friday, end of the week, football eve, baby. I am your host, Justin Sutton, here in Green Bay with my co-host, Mike Rosenthal.
What's up, dude? Another location here. Par for course. Yeah, it's a huge week for fantasy football.
As well, yes.
Yeah, first week of playoffs for a lot of people, except for our league, which we're revamping that league.
We're gonna change some stuff up next year.
We may need to add a couple people to make it more competitive. Like, we need to talk.
We'll see. Yeah, I definitely got one person who would definitely be interested in joining, and he already knows who
I also have
he
a Brown
is, so.
friend. Yeah.
You said what?
And we got Abdus Sami, our
Oh
Brown
yeah,
friend.
Summy. Oh yeah. Hey, there we go. Then we would be abiding by the Rooney Rule.
There we go. There we go.
Oh my goodness. I just wanted to take a moment here to shout out probably my most favorite hoodie I've ever owned in my life. And I don't know if many people see these. So behold, the Aaron Rodgers belt hoodie.
Suck it.
Dropping dimes and suck it signs.
Hey, I got that shirt that the Pat McAfee sold.
Nice.
I don't know, was it 2 years ago? I got it for my Bell's uncle. Was the drop it dimes and suck it sign shirt.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you got the reference, man. Obviously my favorite quarterback ever. Just love this hoodie, and the belt celebration is it's got to be my all-time favorite. It's really up there for me. But with that being said, let's get into some football. Man, what a wild game that Thursday night football was. I mean, it was historically awful.
Bad.
It was tremendously bad. I mean, the final of that game. Okay, let's just take a second.
62 to 21.
63 to 21.
63.
That just outrageous, man. The line on this game was Las Vegas -3. We both took the line and we both hammered that. So
yeah, we knew this score was going to be crazy.
Obviously.
Obviously.
No, kidding.
The only way Davante Adams can catch a touchdown is a pass from Jacoby Myers. That's pretty sick.
Took the words right out of my mouth, man. Like, finally we have a Davante Adams sighting. That was nice to see he's still alive. I mean, it
only took like 30, 40 points for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, plenty of other no-name dudes had 2 touchdowns before Davante got his, but that's beside the point. Yeah, it was like historically awful in the fact that the Raiders had scored the most points in franchise history in a single game. And in the same token, the Chargers had just given up the most points in a single game in franchise history.
Which usually correlates.
Yes, I definitely thought that the Chargers should have also just jumped on the history train there and just fired Brandon Staley at halftime. Yeah. I mean, I said that to you, and it's like I heard it at halftime from Richard Sherman on the halftime report, and I'm just like, took the words right out of my mouth.
That's everybody was thinking that.
Yeah,
everybody was thinking that.
At least they finally did the right thing, though, and they took the head off the snake, and it's like you could just see on the body language of the players. Yeah, it's like everybody quit. Like, you could just visibly see the quit on the players.
Yeah,
it was tough, man. It was
that game.
Tough. I mean, I watched the highlights of that, and it was rough.
The few Chargers fans that are out there may, that's a little bit of relief after that happens to your team, where you're kind of like, hey, there's something to be happy about.
Right,
there's a new
change is coming.
Turn.
Yes.
I think the Raiders I don't think the Raiders are still a competitive team. I think that the Chargers literally did not show up. They tanked.
Pretty much.
They wanted that coach gone. They're never going to say that, but yeah, the Raiders, there was a lot of hype today on like the McAfee shows, like, oh, the Raiders, they can go on a run. The Raiders aren't going on a run. They're not going to the playoffs.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think they will.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, let's start with this weekend slate of games here. Right?
Well, I did want to add one last note to this horrific game here is I would like every single person out there who ever doubted or slandered that man, Justin Herbert, to apologize immediately, because you saw what that team looked like for the last 2 weeks now without Justin Herbert, and it's a straight disgrace to the NFL. So anybody who was on that train of like, oh, Justin Herbert's bad or this, that, and the other thing, he's missing these throws, making the wrong reads. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. How do your feet
Yeah,
taste? I mean, this is just blatant evidence that Herbert is the guy. Like he is. Without Herbert, they are nothing. I
literally.
digress. Yeah,
They can they
it's
the team needs a whole revamp, and the only person that needs to stay is Herbert.
yep. So and Rashawn Slater. Let's keep that right there. Left
And
tackle.
Khalil Mack actually has been having a good season too.
Yeah,
Shout out to him.
yeah, and hey, that
And
kid they
15
drafted out of
sacks.
USC, Tui Pelote or what's his name?
Yeah.
He's been killing it this year. But with that being
Yeah.
said, yeah, let's get into the Saturday slate of games here, man. This is the best time of the year. Christmas is around the corner.
Hell yeah.
Personally, my favorite holiday, so I just usually get a little extra cheery this time of year. There's extra football on that may or may not have something to do with it. But we got the Vikings at the Bengals here. Bengals favored by 3 points, and we are going to double check those odds because that was updated earlier today, and it looks like that is still correct. So
Cool.
me personally, I'm just gonna let the cat out of the bag. I'm not taking this line, man. Upset alert. Minnesota's getting this win. I
I
think
hope you're
that that
right.
I think that I think that Vikings defense has really turned it around in the last few weeks. Brian Flores has been
Hmm.
really like just phenomenal, and they have Nick Mullins. They're not going to have what's that? Jaron Hall. They're not going to have Josh Dobbs out there. Like it's Nick Mullins. He's had plenty of snaps in the NFL. Justin
He's
Jefferson's
more
going to play.
structured.
Yeah, he's like Kevin O'Connell can coach. I like the Vikings to win this game. I think Jake Browning is finally going to turn into the proverbial pumpkin.
Yeah. So the Bengals are the worst team against tight ends in the NFL, and Hawkinson is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So if they did their research, dishing him the ball will be in their favor. Um, I think this game's going to be competitive.
I
The
agree.
Browns were like not after Burrow was out, the Browns were thought to be dead.
Yeah,
But then they kind of flipped the
the Bengals.
script.
You mean?
And yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
And I think that the Bengals are going to win this because it's at home, and I think it's going to be a competitive game. I hope I'm wrong. I'll gladly take the L on that line, obviously,
Yeah, I know you
but
would.
I don't I don't know a lot about Mullins, but I think he's a much more structured quarterback, and it'll be an interesting game. It'll be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Mullins is, from the Shanahan system. Kevin O'Connell's from the Shanahan system. Nick Mullins, we saw him go on a nice streak with Shanahan in San Francisco for a while, when Jimmy G went down
Oh yeah,
injured. It's like,
yeah.
dude, I remember Nick Mullins and was going at it against the Packers on a Monday night game, man, and took us to the wire. I will not forget Nick Mullins, all right?
All right.
Nick Mullins is like, he's obviously not a starter, but man, I trust him a little more right now than I do Jake Browning, simply for the fact of now that Jake Browning has some tape out there, we're probably really going to see what he's made of in this game. He's got 2-3 weeks of film out there. The DCs
Yeah,
have
like you
taken
said,
notice.
The Vikings defense, and I mean, the Vikings defensive coordinator is a dog. So
Brian Flores, man, like when they hired
yeah,
him, that was, as a Packer fan, I did not like that.
yeah, I did not like the Steelers getting rid of him.
Yeah, that was kind of a mistake. But let's move on to the next
He
game
probably could
here.
have ran the
Speaking of
offense
your
better than anybody.
Yeah, let's move on to the next game here. Speaking of your Steelers at Indianapolis. Indianapolis is favored by 1.5 points. So,
Hmm.
Mr. Steelers, yourself, I will let you have the floor on this and go first.
This is a playoff game. Everybody's been saying it. Uh, if the Steelers lose this one, I mean, you might as well tank for the rest of the season
Yeah,
and
probably
get a
panic.
top, get it. I mean, not really a panic. It's just a
I
let's see
meant
if we
for
can
the
get a higher
season.
draft pick.
Yeah, season's
Like
effectively.
um, so the Steelers own the Colts. Mike Tomlin is 9-1 against the Colts. He's never lost at Lucas Oil Stadium. Um, they owned them during the Manning era. They own the Colts. Uh, I think that the Steelers defense shows up. We got T.J. Watt back. Highsmith is back, both from concussion protocol. This is so Mitch Trubisky's first game. I He's not a great quarterback, but I think there's reasonable, not excuses, but reasons why he didn't execute as well. The first game he played with was against Arizona. He came into that game, no reps. Kenny got injured. The next game was a short week. He got a half a day of practice. That was all with first team reps being a short week, a Thursday game.
Yeah, that's really not much.
Now he has an 8 game or 8 day break, where the Colts I think have a 5 day break. So they've had more time to rest, more
Yep.
time for Trubisky. And even in the second half of the Patriots game, where the Patriots scored 0 points and the Steelers, Mr. Trubisky threw, I want to say like close to 180 yards and a touchdown, and they came back and almost made it a game. Mitch showed up and played pretty decent, which is a little bit of an upside.
I mean, he is an
So I think
athlete
that they,
overall.
I think that the Steelers are going to win this one because this is the Mike Tomlin game. Mike Tomlin wins these fucking games. When you start questioning them, they always find a way to stay in it. And I think this is a game where the Steelers are like, hey, we're still in it. If the the way they lose this game is if they don't contain Pittman, because he's been having a great season. But Joey Porter Jr. has been locking up WR1s all year long. So I think that the Steelers can win this one.
Let's see here. Broncos at Lions. Detroit -4.5.
What's your thoughts?
Well, I think Sean Payton's going to have a Sean Payton game. It's going to be coached very well. I just can't decide if they're going to blow it late or win it late, because the Lions are so unpredictable right now. I really actually like Denver in this matchup to keep it really tight. I just don't know who's going to win, so that means I probably can't take this line, because if Detroit wins, I think they squeak it out by a field goal or less.
That's literally what I had in my notes. It was being at home, the Lions get a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, but it's hard betting against the Broncos as of lately, especially against a team like the Lions that's regressed lately, with Jared Goff being whatever the heck he is right now. And I just said, I think this game's going to be within 3. I think the Lions can win it, but regardless, it's going to be maybe a field goal game. But I have a hard time betting against Russell Wilson right now. I don't know.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's, I don't know, he's just consistently mediocre right now. He's not wowing you, but he's not making you scream at the TV. He's just kind of doing enough to be competitive.
Yeah, and Jared Goff is making you scream at your TV right
Pretty
now when he's
much.
fumbling balls.
If this game was in Denver, I'd be slamming the Denver line, but there's
Yeah,
they're in the dome. Jared Goff plays differently in the dome.
I'm surprised this line's not closer, especially like the win streak that the Broncos have been putting together, and then the Lions shit in the bed a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Buccaneers at Packers. Green Bay -3.5 is the first game we have listed here for the Sunday slate of games. I think the
yeah,
Packers are going to win this game, and I do think they win it by more than 3.5 points. I think it's going to be like a 31-27 kind of game, something like that. I could see this being a back and forth shootout. I honestly think they're going to break the over on the game, which is 40 something points, but I don't know exactly what that is. Like the Packers to win this simply because Jordan Love is like, he's a different guy at home, and he got taught a valuable lesson last week, and that's, you can't be sleeping on people. Like he
yeah,
woke up a little too late to save the game. I mean, even though he led them to take the lead with under 2 minutes to go, it was just, too little too late. And the Buccaneers are spicy, man. Like that offense has something for us. We give up the
yeah.
run
We've
like
been on
nobody's.
the Bucks.
It's like, dude, the Packers can't stop running backs, and the Buccaneers can't stop aerial attacks. So I think Jordan Love's going to have a day. I also think the Buccaneers running back Rashad White's going to have a day. So I like Green Bay to win it in a higher scoring contest.
Yeah, I think the Bucks are going to win this game. A funny fact: this is the third straight year Baker Mayfield's played at Lambeau Field with 3 different teams.
That is wild. Holy hell.
uh, I could see yeah. So I have my note here. I could see the Packers winning, but not more than a field goal. I think it's going to be a tight race to the end. Um, both of these teams are 6 and 7 that are in the playoffs right now, and they're fighting to maintain a playoff spot here. They both desperately need a win. I can't picture the Packers being able to cover Mike Evans or the running back Rashad White.
It depends if Jair plays. If Jair plays, I think they got a shot. If not,
Is Watson playing?
oh, highly doubt that. that
I
he's
thought
going
I
to see
heard something that he's
he's
probably.
going to see specialists about like what he can do to train differently or strengthen his hamstrings or whatnot. And basically, what the doctors have told him is that he needs to strengthen his back so his hamstrings stop
Oh,
overcompensating. So, I mean, this is his fifth hamstring, the same one in 3 years. And this is a
man.
re-aggravation of the third. I think he came into the year nursing it. Then he tweaked it
Yeah.
again. This is the third tweak in the same season to the same hamstring. I highly doubt he's playing. I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything about that. I can look at that, but I mean, common
Yeah.
sense just tells me that that dude's not playing. Yeah, he's
Even
doubtful.
if he is playing, he's not that receiver that you really want. I mean,
Yeah,
he
Christian Watson's
he did
listed as
have that
doubtful.
great game last time he played, but yeah, man, I think I want the Packers to win this, but I think that Baker's coming off of a big high here. But also at the same time, it's Lambeau Field. I think the Packers can win this by a field goal, but I could also see how the Bucks could win it because the Packers defense may not have an answer for Mike Evans and Rashad White.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't think the aerial attack from Baker is really the thing I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is them just straight up being able to keep Love off the field. The more they win the time of possession, the less I like our
Yeah.
odds of winning because Love is not a go save us quarterback. He's a guy that needs to be in rhythm. He can't just be cold and then we need you to go out and play like you're on fire. He's a guy that kind
Yeah.
of he needs to get rolling a little bit and then he's good. And ultimately, like I said, if they keep him on the bench, that's what's going to kill us. But I think Jordan Love's going to be able to. I could very easily see Baker having another heartbreak for himself this year, like similar to the Texans game. He goes down, takes the lead, 2 minutes or less to go. Jordan Love gets the ball back, touchdown. We win by like 4 points.
Yeah, that was a good analogy because Love has played, and maybe that's not an analogy, but what you said, if Love is playing and like they keep the ball, they're in a rhythm, they're marching down the field, and then Love looks fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
But
he's and
when,
like don't get it
yeah,
twisted, dude. We got juice in the wide receiver core. That Bucks passing defense is I mean, if it's a floodgate, it's wide open, dude. It is
yeah,
wide open. I that's
yeah.
another reason why I just think that we might be able to outrun them slash outscore them, not necessarily stop them when we need to.
It'll be a close game. I think it'll be a good challenge here for the Packers earning us. You got to earn the playoff spots, and this is an earn it game.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if this game is won by more than one possession on either side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm taking. I think I like the safe bet of taking the 3.5 because I think this could be one field goal kick away from a win.
Yeah,
But
definitely. But let's move on to the next game here. We got Bears at Browns. Cleveland favored by 3 points. I'll let you talk about your AFC North brethren first.
I actually I'm taking the Browns in this game, but man, I think that the Bears have been playing a lot better. Obviously, I mean, they I think this is a low key great game. Um, the Bears are on. I think what are they on a? They're on some kind of win streak. Are they on a few game win streak? Um, Justin Fields, that defense is playing great. DJ Moore. I mean, Cole Kmet. It's going to be hard for. They don't have a run game really for Chicago, and the Browns' defense is phenomenal. So they're going to have to be passing the ball, and Fields is going to be have to run. He's going to be running around with his head cut off. But the Browns also know how to handle a quarterback like that because they play the Ravens a couple times a year. I think that the Browns' defense is going to slow the Bears down, but I think the Bears kind of score some points and keep some people surprised on how well they're doing. At the end of the day, if Joey Flacco continues to play, I can't believe we're still talking about this guy being in the NFL, which is
I
insane.
love it.
But I, the saving grace of the Browns not being the same old Brownies is getting the Ravens' old quarterback.
Pretty
And if
much.
this guy continues to play the way he's playing, and this gives that'll put 9 wins on the season for the Browns, these aren't the same old Brownies, man. They may have an old fart quarterback, but they're showing you now if we have a quarterback that's competent sitting in there, this Browns team is really dangerous.
Yeah. Most
Especially in Joku, man, too. That guy is a dog.
yeah.
And then if they get Nick Chubb back next year and maybe just get rid of Watson and keep Flacco, that team's going to be competitive.
That's funny. I'm with you there. I pretty much agree with everything you say. I think that the Browns offense is just superior to the Bears defense. Although the Bears defense has been playing well as of late, I think the Browns offense is that good now with Flacco under center. I think
Yeah.
that the Browns defense, like you said, knows how to handle Justin Fields because they see Lamar 2 times a year. I mean, that's got to be a specialty of theirs by now. So I love Cleveland
Yeah.
to win this game by at least a field goal. I'm expecting them to win by about a touchdown.
Yeah, I could almost see that maybe a touchdown, 10 points, maybe a 2 possession win, especially
So,
being at Cleveland too. The dog pound getting loud. Dude, those fans are vicious there, man. Don't
oh
wear a
yeah,
Ben Roethlisberger jersey there. They'll throw beer cans at you.
oh yeah, that's sounds like some personal experience there.
It's not
Uh,
my fault Ben threw a touchdown on 4th down to Pat Fryermuth toe tapping it in to beat you guys when he's like 38 years old. I can't help it.
Next game we got is Texans at Titans. Titans, the line actually went down. They are now favored by only 3.5 instead of 4 points.
Nice. Okay.
Not really sure why that is, because CJ Stroud's not going to play, and neither is Nico Collins. At least they're not expected to. So
I
I,
think
I
they're both.
honestly,
I know Nico's officially out, but I thought it's like doubtful or something for CJ, but he's not playing,
yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, how many guys have ever played when they get the doubtful tag? I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. So
especially with the concussion.
yeah, I like Tennessee to win this game, but I'm not taking this line because I think it's going to be a really hard-nosed defensive divisional matchup, man. You got Mike Vrabel going up against D'Amico Ryans. I mean, Davis Mills can still sling it. I just don't think we're going to see any sort of high scoring here. I don't like any sort of fantasy options in these games, but with the exception of Derrick Henry, and I don't even really like DeAndre
Maybe
Hopkins this
Hopkins.
week. I just maybe Hopkins, but
Yeah,
I I just think it's going to be one of those tight divisional games, man, because Tennessee's coming alive here, man. They Mike
and
Vrabel
they're
loves
good
to
at home.
yeah, Mike Vrabel loves to heat up at the end of the year, and I'm not gonna I expect Tennessee to win, but I'm not taking this line because I think it's like a field goal game. I don't think I don't that 3.5 is just a tick too high for me.
Yeah, I'm agree with everything you say there. The Titans are coming off an absolutely massive win. They're riding a big old high. They're way up here beating the Dolphins, man.
Yeah,
Um,
most improbable win probably ever. I mean,
yeah,
that's got to be lesser odds than it was 28-3 in the Super Bowl for New England Atlanta.
yeah, it was that game was crazy. I don't know what the Texans look like without CJ Stroud. This is going to be quite the test for them. I'm going to take this line. I think that I can see a way the Titans win by a touchdown. I could also see a way that the Texans defense really slows down the Titans, but the Titans are good at winning at home, and I think that they really put an end to the Texans' chances of making a playoff spot this year, which is actually really heartbreaking. Uh, I don't like that. I wanted to see CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell jumping into a wild card spot here, being having them be a part of that race rather than a team like the Bengals or the Steelers or something like that. That explosive Texans team would have been awesome to see, but now we got to wait till next year to see that show.
Yeah, I thought they might be able to at least sneak into a wild card spot, but for a while there. But once Tank Dell went down, I kind of figured it was over. But
And that, yeah,
let's move on to another
that's
team here with their potential star receiver down, and that is the Dolphins. We got Jets at Miami. Miami's favored by 9.5, and Tyreek Hill is questionable to play. He did not practice all 3 days this week, and according to Mike McDaniel, it's basically up to Tyreek Hill and the medical staff's confidence in his ability to go out there and be 100%. So if they have confidence that he can do that, he'll be out there, and if not, he won't be. Which is
can we
that's
wait to pick our line if he's gonna play or not? If he plays, I think they cover
I think
maybe.
whether he plays or not, this line's not hitting personally. I think the Jets got a lot of pride on the line here. This is a huge matchup for them. Like, I think they're going to look to capitalize on this. And I like the Dolphins to win, but it's going to be ugly. It's going to be real ugly.
Yeah,
I don't like them winning by 10 points.
yeah. So I originally I wrote no to this line. I think the Jets keep this really close, even with I had a quotations hurt Tyreek Hill, whatever this guy is, putting on a show. Um, yeah, I think the Jets defense is too good, especially. I, I'm with you. I'm not going to take this line, even if they had completely healthy Tyreek Hill. This line is a little too big for me to like that, especially after the performance that the Dolphins just put on.
Yeah.
Because the Jets defense is tenfold better than the Titans defense.
Yeah.
So, and then I think Zach Wilson's also kind of got a little pride on his shoulder, a little swagger on him. So I'd like to see him ball out a little bit and show. I really want them to shove it to the Jets ownership and everybody that screwed him over with all the BS
Well, you
and
saw the
just give him a
report that
big FU.
they told him that they would trade him in the offseason, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, reportedly they told Zach Wilson he will be dealt in the offseason, and I get the feeling that's the only reason he said he'd actually start again. But with that, we're going to take a break here, and we will be back. All righty, let's continue on here. We got Chiefs at Patriots, Kansas City minus 8 points. Honestly, I think this is a get-right game for the Chiefs. This report coming out about Belichick, basically going to be gone after the season. I think the Chiefs were really embarrassed by their own behavior with how they acted at the end of that Bills game about the refs and everything. And I think this is a big prove-it game for them. They're looking to come out, show that they are still the Chiefs, and dominate an opponent here. I like them to win this game handedly. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I get the feeling this could be a 28-17 type of game at max.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I definitely don't think it's going to be crazy, but I like the Chiefs to pretty much dominate in all three phases here. I think New England's going to kind of get outplayed. They just don't have
Yeah,
the
I'm gonna not read any of my notes because you just kind of explained everything that I wrote down, probably with better detail, because you are a better speaker than I. Um, I'm concerned with how many Chiefs dudes I have in our fantasy league. On my team, I just looked at my team. I'm like, why do I have so many Chiefs players on my team? What the heck?
old habits die
Um,
hard.
yeah, I mean, I got Kelsey. I just picked up Rasheed Rice. I got Pacheco because I can't let Pacheco go, even though he's injured. Like when he plays, he's such a good asset to have. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
I'm gonna. I don't know, dude. It's like our fantasy league with how many studs we have on the free agency. It's so hard to like want to let one of your guys go because the odds are somebody's gonna go scoop them, and then you're kind of just. I mean, it's like me losing Debo, which I've talked about before. It's
yeah.
like, man, I'd love to have Debo back right now.
That's like our other teammate dropping Garrett Wilson, and I'm like, thank you, I'll take that.
Yeah, put him on my bench.
Yes, exactly. He's a stash for next year since that's a dynasty league now. But I digress. Yeah, I managed to stay away from all Chiefs players this year in fantasy, luckily, with the exception of Mahomes in the one league.
Mahomes.
Yeah, and he kind of burned
Yeah.
me. I've been playing Dak Prescott over him because he's just not been it for fantasy this year. But I expect that to change once they get receivers, which I don't think is going to matter against New England. They're not going to need receivers. I like them to just pretty much get creative on this on this Patriots defense.
Yeah, I think that they're going to
You're,
win. I'm also with you. I'm going to take this line.
I think you're going to
But
see a lot of good schematics in this game. I think Andy Reid's going to be really sharp. I mean, like, dude, you lost the game because of an offensive offsides.
no,
You
I'm
talking
with
about
you.
someone wanting to really stick it to the NFL here. I think he's going to put on a show.
This is going to be one of
Andy
those
Reid.
games where Patrick. This is going to be one of those games where Patrick Mahomes is on the bench, and you just see a serious look in his face the whole time. They go out, they execute, they sit back down. They go
Yeah,
out, they execute, they sit back down. Let's stop the talking. Let's go show people what we can do and move on because they're still, even with no receivers, the Chiefs are still a team.
yeah.
So
That defense is good, man. It's good.
very good. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next game here. We got Giants at Saints. New Orleans favored by 5.5. And honestly, for the life of me, I can't figure out why. They've been so inconsistent. Derek Carr has looked so bad. The Giants are surprisingly kind of rolling a little bit after that Packers game. Like they got to have all the momentum in the world right now. Like that offense looked so much better. That defense was actually stingy. And I think they have something for this Saints team. Like Olave and Kamara are your biggest threats. And if you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
contain them to a degree, that offense does not scare you at all. The Saints defense, heck, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's been fraudulent because like they've been good, but they have not been as advertised. And like they've kind of been letting some stuff through their fingers here statistically. I don't have it all of it right now at the tip of my fingers, but Saints defense has been kind of leaky. So I kind of like Brian Dable to take advantage of some defensive looks here. and have Tommy DeVito use his legs a little bit more maybe or something. But I think the Giants are going to keep this close. I do like the Saints to win, just not by 6 or more points. I think this is going to be a lot tighter than
So
people
that's the
think.
line now because I had 5.5, or
Yeah, it's
they would
five and
have
a
to hit
half.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
don't.
right. Yeah. My note says, I'm surprised this line is not closer. What's going on here?
Yeah, I
Like, I don't get it either. I'm gonna take this line. I don't know why. Uh, I think that the Giants are. I I don't know. It's that 5.5 is a weird spot. I do think the Saints can win this. I think I could easily see them winning it by 3 points. I could easily see them winning it by 6 points. I'm just going with the line because I think that Derek Carr, I like Kamara, man, and that I don't I don't know. I have a little bit maybe of too much blind faith there in the Saints defense. Like you said, they have been a little bit leaky. They're not the same defense that was feared at the beginning half of the season.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I can also see how the Giants could keep it close. We get DeVito balling out right now. I mean, the guy's been playing out of his mind. Saquon Barkley, that dude's gonna want to get a get right game here, And I wouldn't say he got wrong last game, but the way that that game was really close at the end was because of his mistake. So
Yeah, but I mean, they still won, so I guess there's no harm, no foul. If they had lost, I would think that Saquon would be like extra motivated, but I think he's like just gonna do a little more ball security drills in practice this week. That's
yeah,
probably
it's
about
gonna be in
it.
the back of his head. He's
Yeah.
gonna think about as a competitor. You're thinking about that. Hey, we could have won by more. We could have, we couldn't have. I
Now,
don't know.
see, I get your
I get why you pick it.
I get your point there, but like this is where my mind is a little different. If like my train of thought is if it's in a player's head, he's probably more likely to fumble. So
Yeah,
like
I mean maybe
I like if
that's
that's if that
smarter.
if that if that's really like if it is living in his head, I wouldn't be surprised then to see him fumble maybe 1 or 2 more times in this game. I'd be like, oh, maybe it's living in his head a little bit. Like because if he's trying to remind himself, if he's pressuring himself
Yeah,
to like not fumble and he's thinking about it too much, instead of just doing it, it's like
yeah.
that, dude, like, sports are a big mental game, man. Like obviously
Oh, I mean,
football is
it's probably
90%
mostly all
physical, but
mental.
yeah, football is vastly physical, but I mean, there's a lot of mentality to sports, and it's like
Well, I mean, I think
it's definitely
what you
a
said
mind
was a good
trick.
point of he's probably going to do more drills this week to focus on that. So that way, when it comes to game day, he's not focusing on that. He's like, hey, I put the time in. Okay, now trust myself. Boom,
Right,
execute rather than think about that.
right.
That's a good point.
Well, and speaking of execution, let's move on to the seventh and final game of the noon window here of one team that
Yep.
can't execute like at all. That's the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta is coming to
Okay,
visit the
what's this line?
Carolina. Atlanta is coming to visit Carolina, and Atlanta is favored by only 3 points. This is like the easiest bet of the week for me, in my opinion. Here, if any of you out there are sports gamblers, I mean, I
Tell
would
us
run.
why.
I would run to the bank with this money because Carolina, like literally, their offense is so inept. It's like I think it's approaching historically bad.
The Falcons have a good defense. I
And the
don't get how
Falcons
this
have a
line's
solid
-3.
defense. They've already played each other once before, and the Falcons bottled them up like decently. Like it was a little bit competitive, but that was Bijan's coming out party. Like he had that nasty move with a screen pass for a touchdown and whatnot. Like
He's getting
Carolina,
rushing touchdowns now.
yeah. The running back is actually rushing the ball. Imagine that. Um, uh, I just think that this Carolina team, they like, what do they have to play for? They have no coaching staff there that's like familiar. You know what I mean? Like that's all intern people that were probably there, obviously as like staff members still, sure, but like Frank Reich is gone. You know what I mean? Like they lost their leader.
Yeah.
The owner is under immense fire. The Falcons have something to play for here because they're looking at the divisional standings like, hey man, if Green Bay beats Tampa, we still got a shot to be in this. I think Arthur Smith is just gonna go lay the hammer on him, man. As long
He's
as
a good
as long
coach
as
too.
yeah, I think he's underrated. I don't like some of the stuff he does, like for fantasy football, but I think he's a good coach in real life. I honestly think that as long as Desmond Ritter doesn't completely vomit all over himself, the Falcons should hammer the Panthers by like at least a touchdown, maybe two.
This is like one of those ones where we, at the beginning of the season, were saying, give the ball to Bijan. They need to do exactly that this game. and Drake London has also been playing phenomenal. Give the
Yes.
ball to your two studs. Also, let's never forget about Kyle Pitts and who he once was. They have three massive offensive weapons
That dude's
that
been
have potential.
we'll talk about Kyle Pitts in a second here. I'm sorry.
But
I have a beef with Kyle Pitts.
as many people do, if you're a fantasy football player, everybody's got beef with Kyle Pitts. But I'm with everything you say, man. I don't understand this line being -3 at all. Um, I just don't get it. I don't. How did they come up with that? I have a hard time fathoming that, especially with the Panthers team. What do they have? 2 wins?
Well, I think what Vegas
One?
looks at is that Carolina can really stop the run, and if you force Desmond Ritter to throw, we've seen he can be a bit sloppy, and maybe like they're just thinking that Carolina's going to come up with some turnovers, but I don't see it, man. Drake London and Desmond Ritter have had that they found a pretty good connection here, and it's been growing. Carolina
Yeah.
can't stop anybody through the air, and also through the air. We'll get back here to Kyle Pitts. Dude, he's basically been MIA for like 3 years in the fantasy world and suddenly
Yeah.
comes back last week to have like one of the best games of his career against me in fantasy. I was just like,
Somebody
really?
played him in fantasy?
Yeah, that would be our good friend Bubba. So you can pick his brain about
Who
that.
even has him in their lineup anymore? What
It
are
was
we
one of
doing
those
here?
where he didn't have another tight end on the roster. Like, but
Oh
Bubba's having
man.
a rebuilding year this year in Dynasty, so
Oh,
he's not
okay.
exactly rostering two tight ends for a playoff push right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. But let's move on here to the next game. That's actually going to be
Yeah.
probably one I think is one of the sleeper games of the week. Just like Packers Bucks, I think Commanders at Rams here. Rams favored by 6.5. I kind of like this to be a bit of a shootout. I think the Rams will ultimately win this game, but I think it's going to be high scoring. I definitely expect to see something along the lines of, 35-28, something like that. I think I think
So
I think
you
Sam
you
Howell's going
like
to
the
be
line?
chucking. Yeah, I like the line. I'm going to take this here. I like Sam Howell to chuck it up a lot and make it a shootout, but I like Matthew Stafford and company to put the nails in the coffin when they need to because that's what veterans do.
Yeah, so the Rams and their offense, they're going to beat up on the Commanders' defense, obviously, like everybody does, because the Commanders kind of sold their defense away. They have no pass rush.
Yep.
The Rams have put up 30 plus points in the last 3 games. The Commanders have not managed to break 20 in the last three. The lack of, I, I think I'm with you. I love Stafford with Puka, Kyron Williams, Cooper Cup, Higby. It's kind of the same message that I was saying last week against them with the Ravens. They were able to be that competitive with the Ravens, who was arguably a better team. They're going to beat up on these Commanders. I'm with you how I can kind of see it because Sam Howell is a little underrated because the guy's been a great quarterback. They're putting up points, but I definitely think that the Rams win by a touchdown. However close that is, I have a hard time thinking that the Commanders are. I could see the Commanders getting over 20 points, but
I'll tell
yeah,
you exactly
I
why I
think
think
the
they're going to do it. It's the same reason why the Chiefs don't look the same. Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy off a bye. I think he's going to have Sam Howell sharp. That's what I think.
yeah, and they got the running back,
No, they
right?
don't.
He's back.
No,
Oh,
Brian
Brian Robinson.
Robinson is out this week, thankfully.
Oh,
So my opponent this week for the first round of the playoffs has now lost Keenan Allen to injury, now losing Brian Robinson to injury, and is quite possibly losing the backbone of his team, Tyreek Hill, to injury.
God's plan, dog.
God's plan.
God's
And my
plan.
matchups my matchups this week are absolute garbage. My matchups next week are and the week after are top 5, top 10. So I'm really hoping that the stars are aligning for me here. And if I manage to win it all in a rebuilding year, I'm going to talk so much shit and never let anyone hear the end of it.
So this game has a lot of implication here.
Yes,
I
it
picked
does.
up Matthew Stafford for my league. So I was the worst team getting into our family league, playing my brother-in-law, Bell's brother, and he had Herbert, who was out, which was helpful. And then
Yeah.
he wanted to go pick up Stafford, and I was like, I had Puka, and I was like, I have to block this dude. I didn't need him because I had Fields sitting there and I had Goff sitting there and I grabbed Stafford. So I need a Puka Stafford stack. I have Devontae Adams in that league too, who finally had a real Devontae Adams game, which is
Finally.
really helping me out. So if I have a Puka Stafford stack here, buddy, my team's not bad on paper. I also need this help. I barely snuck in.
You
I
want to
need to
talk?
take down this number one.
Yeah, this guy's the number one in my conference who I'm playing this week. I'm the last seed in my conference. But you want to talk about blocking, fantasy blocking? I think I have pulled off probably the ultimate fantasy block. So this opponent who has Brian Robinson, I was reading up on Brian Robinson last night in the wee hours of the morning, and I noticed that if he was not going to be a go, some other guy by the name of Chris Rodriguez was going to be his replacement. And I saw that Antonio Gibson
Everybody
was
knows that guy.
and I saw that Antonio Gibson was already rostered in the league, so I decided to go ahead and drop one of the three defenses I had rostered for matchups to go ahead and grab Chris Rodriguez, so my opponent could not in the event Brian Robinson was injured. Turns out that
And
was the
who's
smart play since Brian Robinson is now ruled out. But to go further back than that, to even set this matchup up, I had to get into the playoffs, right? So to make my final playoff push, I had to acquire another piece to put me over the hump. And at the time, Rashad White was on the trading block. And this guy that I'm playing had the original deal in place for Rashad White. He was going to pay a third and a fourth round pick for Rashad White. Okay. This guy that I'm playing,
that's your dog too.
his team name is we'll just call him Dunwich. Okay. So Dunwich originally made a deal. This is back in like week 8, week 9, something like this. Maybe, yeah, right around there. And so I see this, and I'm contemplating if I should counter offer because I really like Rashad White. He's been on my radar, and because that's the way it works in this league, you get 24 hours to counter offer, and so I counter offer with Zay Flowers, nice dynasty keeper for a decent dynasty asset as well. I figured mutual interest because I knew this guy was looking for a wide receiver, and he ended up accepting the deal. So I snatched Rashad White away from Dunwich. That catapulted me into the playoffs, and now Brian Robinson is out for Dunwich, and he has no running back to replace him with, no Rashad White, and he has no Chris Rodriguez.
That almost made my nipples hard.
I mean, apparently my subconscious is smarter than my conscience because apparently I planned this inevitable fantasy block like weeks in advance. So
and maybe that's why I quit overthinking stuff.
this is why I overthink
all gonna
everything because I scheme
don't
things up in my
overthink
head.
things. Trust your instinct. Trust your instincts.
Well, I'm saying like this sometimes this is why I do need to think like I do like to overthink on things because I made the decision to make a playoff push back in week 4. That's how far in the future I was looking. So
yeah,
I guess like it's a fine line between like overthinking enough and truly overthinking it.
Or luck.
Or luck. Because straight up that's what fantasy football is, man. It's luck.
It's gambling, baby.
It is. But let's move on to the next game here. Speaking of gambling, if we were gambling here, we would have two different better slips, and that is on the 49ers at the Cardinals. San Fran is favored by 12 points, and you are taking this line, and I am staying very far away from it.
You can't say very far away from it. What if it was minus, like, where would you put it?
I'd go 8.
Say, I'm going to take that. Okay,
8.
I was literally going to say 8.
At 8, I would take it, but you'd have to drop it 4 points. But at 12, no way. I think Arizona's playing a little bit more inspired football right now. They already played each other once, and the Cardinals like matched up pretty well against them for a while, and then the Niners obviously won. But I think that the Cardinals are going to have a little bit of the division rivalry here for them. Everybody's just about back healthy with the exception of Hollywood Brown. The defense isn't going to stop a nosebleed, but I just think that they're going to keep it tighter than 12 points. I still think they're going to lose, but like I could see 10 points, 8 points, something like that. I just don't see it 14 or something. I like Kyler's legs to be the difference in this game, man. San Francisco, this is kind of a lull game for them. I kind of like Arizona to catch them sleeping a little bit and just kind of keep it competitive.
I think that the 49ers keep the foot on the gas. They want to keep the MVP race here for Brock Purdy. He wants to continue to ball. He's still young. I mean, we got to remember this dude, like, they want to keep playing. They want to keep executing. This dude's a young guy. His team isn't, I guess it's kind of a young team. I think they eat the Cardinals alive. I literally, my only notes say Niners continue to Niner.
Yeah, I see that here.
Beat up on bad teams. I don't like the big line. I never liked the big line, but I could easily see them winning by a touchdown or a field goal.
I mean,
That's not math.
the
That's
sim-
10.
the simplest way to stop a high-powered offense, man, is keep it off the field. And I think that Arizona, off of a bye here, I think Jonathan Gannon's going to have something for the Niners. Like I would not be shocked if Arizona was leading at halftime and the Niners kind of got to play catch up. Let's put it that way. Cardinals are a first half
Yeah,
team. They're not a second half team. Although
I'm a
I
big
could be
Kyler
wrong
Murray
on that.
fan.
I am, yeah, I was gonna say now that they have Kyler Murray, they've been more of a second half team. I need to retract that because dude, yeah, Kyler he put the nails in the coffin on Pittsburgh when he needed to. I don't mean to bring that up
Yeah,
for you, but like he's been
it needs to
dialing
be
it up,
brought up.
man. Yeah, like dude, Kyler's been pretty lights
He's a good.
out ever since he
I
knocked
mean,
off the rust in his first couple games.
we've only talked good things about this dude. We're
I
both huge fans of what they got going on there.
Yeah, I personally
Uh,
can't see the Cardinals getting off this kid. Like, even if they end up with the number 2 overall pick, there's no way. I think you have to keep
if they
Kyler
do, they're
Murray. And
dumb.
yeah, I think you're stupid if you get off Kyler. Like he
Yeah,
is a generational talent. I think if you're the
agreed.
Cardinals, you got to go chase Marvin Harrison. You got to add to Kyler Murray. You don't take him away and try to replace him.
Well, I'm on the same page. This is one that like it doesn't mean much to any of us for anything really.
I mean, I got
But
James Conner going
I
this
wouldn't
week in
be.
fantasy, so I need a day from
There you
him.
go. I I wouldn't be surprised because Kyler Murray's he's a baller. He's a difference maker. If there's a reason this game's close, it's because of his legs and what he does on the field. But I don't think that they have enough to beat this just complete alpha 49ers team.
Yeah, I fully
Will the
expect San
49ers
Fran to
fall?
win.
Yes, they will in the playoffs.
Man, how funny would it be if
All right.
the Niners and Green Bay got to meet in the playoffs and it was us coming in as the low
They
seed
go
and our turn to
Packers
play
go
spoiler?
there.
That would be interesting.
I was at that game. I was at the game when the 49ers came to Green Bay.
Oh, that's rough.
Rodgers' last playoff game.
Maybe you need to stop going to these Green Bay playoff
So
games.
it was cold.
Yeah, it looked cold. It had the snow globe effect going on. I kind of wish it looked like one of those games where I kind of wish I was there. Like I would have endured the cold for that. But let's move
It
on to the
was
next game.
euphoric. I have a really cool video of when
Nice.
the snow started falling. I'll have to send that to you.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to the next game that also has weather involved potentially, and that is the Buffalo Bills taking on the Cowboys there in Orchard Park. Buffalo is favored by 2.5 currently, and I mean, I don't even think you got a guess. I am all over this line. Buffalo to the
Yeah,
moon. Buffalo to the bowl.
I'm not.
I mean, they are, dude, they are the definition of an animal with its back against the wall right now, and they got fangs and they letting it show. I mean, they are feisty. That offense continues to build and build and build on consistency, schematics, and I honestly, I've been wrong on my last few call outs, but I'm on the last 2 call outs. That was Steph Diggs coming back, and that was Justin Fields having a good game. I was very wrong on those 2, and I fully admit that. But the third time's got to be the fucking charm, man. I think Steph Diggs has a game in which he wishes his brother was there so he could torch his ass for this game. I think Diggs goes out, balls out, and Bills are going to win. I think Josh Allen is that dude. To quote Rich Eisen, he's the Mandalorian quarterback out there. You just can't stop this man. Like he's unstoppable when he is on tilt. Like when Josh Allen is on, there's probably only one dude that's on the same level, and that's Mahomes. And
When
I
they,
honestly,
yeah,
when anyone's playing at their absolute best of the best, I would probably take Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes, me personally. But I think those are the only 2 guys in that conversation.
well,
And
that dude's way more of a vibe of a quarterback we've seen our entire childhood. Just way more creative.
that
He's
too, but
he's like blue. I don't know. I get to say I know exactly what you're saying because I feel the same way.
maybe it's the underdog side of it for me personally. Like I look at Mahomes now, like I used to love Mahomes a lot, like when he first broke into the league, and like I don't hate Mahomes, but like I don't have the same love for him. I'm like, dude, you have Andy Reid, you had Tyreek Hill for the first however many years, and you've had Travis Kelce with him too, and you still have Travis Kelce. Like I don't know, man. It's like
It takes a
I
team to win a Super Bowl, though.
yeah, it's like I enjoy exactly, and them losing to getting their ass kicked by Tampa in the Super Bowl proved that when everybody was dropping passes and nobody was blocking for Mahomes. But it's like I just like something about that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's almost like watching a rich person, like get richer on a vastly large scale. It's just kind of like
Yeah.
it just seems distasteful. But like I said, I think Josh Allen, he's going to be on tilt. He's going to be up there. People are going to be talking about him with Mahomes again come Monday. And there is a possibility for weather in this game where like we're looking at possibilities of rainstorms and 30-mile-an-hour winds. And if that's the case, oh, I really like Buffalo. I really like Buffalo. Then at that point, I think they might hammer the Cowboys because the Cowboys kind of a warm weather indoor team. Haven't seen them play in real weather yet. They're a turf team. I want to see what they can do when things
Yeah.
get challenging. Buffalo lives that life. They are accustomed to that life. Buffalo, to quote Marshawn Lynch, they bout that action, boss.
I I don't think, I don't, I wouldn't be surprised if I think that this game is a toss up. I think that the Cowboys could win, the Bills could win.
I could very easily see Dallas winning as well. I would that would not surprise me.
Stopping stopping Dak and CD is going to be quite the challenge. Those guys are balling out of control right now. Dak is on a whole nother level than he's ever been in his entire career. That defense and that pass rush is going to get at their shit, even without Diggs being on their defense. The only way the Bills are going to win this game is if they start realizing, hey, we have to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs, like you were saying. They need to get it to Diggs. They need to get it to Gabe Davis. They need to let Allen be Allen and sling the rock. Um, but I think that the Cowboys win this. They continue to.
See, I think you just laid out like another point to my argument for me is I think there are so many facets to that offense now that like, dude, they beat the Chiefs last week. Gabe Davis goose egged in fantasy football. Steph Diggs put up sub 5 points at half PPR. Like they're James Cook is feasting. They can run the ball. Like this is
Yeah, I'm really
beautiful.
pissed you picked them up in fantasy.
This is absolutely beautiful, man. Like I think
Yeah.
Buffalo's offense is honestly like it's cohering very nicely, and I think that they're just gelling, man. I think they're kind of going to be the team of destiny this year. They're getting hot at the right time. I'm not feeling so hot about Philly making it back to the bowl anymore. But like, dude, that they can just beat you in so many different ways. They can run the ball with James Cook. They can run the ball with Josh Allen. Josh Allen can scramble and extend plays. They can throw it to Steph Diggs, deep and to Davis. They can throw it short to Kincaid and Diggs and like get the screen game going and dink and dunks. Like I guess it's just they've shown me a lot of consistency and a lot of evolution in the offense to where I trust
There's
them.
no consistency.
Well, in terms of like
They're
their
seven
winning,
and six.
they're like the last few weeks specifically, like since they fired the
Yeah.
OC, a little more than a few weeks ago now, but like since they fired their OC, like the offense, like I've seen like the small steps, and it's I've seen the growth, and for me that's enough. Like I didn't trust them for a while when they were super
I'm
Stephon
with
Diggs
you.
dependent because once you stop Diggs, what do they have left? But now that they're showing you they can win with their other players, and that to me is what makes them really scary, dude. Because if you're an AFC
I
team,
agree with I
you don't
agree
want
with
to
what
see
you're
them in the
saying.
playoffs. You don't want to see
Like
them in the playoffs.
I love the Bills and I want to see them in the playoffs. I hope that I'm wrong on my line. I just think the Cowboys are a better team right now. But if there's weather, I could this line being so close, I could see I want to see the once again, this goes like to the Texans talk. I'd rather see the Cowboys in the playoffs than or the Bills in the playoffs than the Steelers, the Bengals, the other people, the Colts, the
Yes,
people that are
the
contending right
Browns.
now.
Yeah,
I want to see the Bills in there. I know not the Browns. I'd like to see the Browns in there.
I'd
That
rather see the
team.
Bills in there over the Browns. But
Well, there's
I
enough
do
room
want
for
to see
both of them.
Cleveland in there. Fair point.
Yeah,
Fair point.
yeah.
But let's move on to the next
But
game here, an AFC showdown.
sorry, one last thing.
Okay,
This is the game of the week and the only really good game of the week.
that is factual. This one has a chance to become a good game as well. This next one here, another AFC showdown to affect those playoff standings and who's getting in, who's getting out, and that is the Ravens at the Jags on Sunday Night Football. Baltimore is favored by 3.5 points, and honestly, I'm taking this line.
Same.
Baltimore lost last week. They were a bit sloppy. The Rams were on kill, and
They didn't
Ja-
lose.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they beat the Rams last week. Excuse me, I misspoke. They beat the Rams last week, even though the Rams were on kill and the Ravens were a bit sloppy. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but Lamar looked inconsistent to me. I didn't really like what I saw from the Ravens last week, so I like Harbaugh to get them sharper over this time that they've had off this week, and I think they're going to come out and put a number on the Jags because the Jags are pretty good at stopping the run, but man, you can throw it all over the place on them. And who knows how limited Trevor Lawrence is still going to be with that ankle. But you never know, man. He played last week. Like that's superhuman stuff.
Yeah, I think that if the Jags are playing at their full potential, they can make this a game. If they're
Yes.
anything but their full potential, it's not a game. And I think that the Ravens served them their third loss in a row, all three losses being to AFC North teams.
Yep. I would agree with that.
So they're not, I don't think the Jags have enough to overcome AFC North defenses.
Yes, sir. And with that, we're going to close out the show here, and we will see you all Sunday evening at approximate kickoff of the Sunday night game. We will discuss the Sunday action, talk about Monday night predictions, and all that jazz. So if you've been
Enjoy Saturday and Sunday football.
It's the best time of the year. So thank you for supporting us here at T1FP. If you have been supporting us or are a new supporter, we appreciate it all the same. So go ahead, give us a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, and we will catch you on the next episode.